Hapless teenagers beset by demons in the woods. A strange new drug that turns art into murder. A can't beat a deal on a new house with a horrifying past. A video game that might usher in the apocalypse. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires, Shadow Play, and Murder Virus, comes Volume 4, collecting Baker's no-sleep work along with several never-before-published short stories. This 99-cent volume also includes the opening chapter of the author's forthcoming teenage giallo novel, Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, due out later this year.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. My name is Sean.
And I'm Missy.
And we are fresh out of the theater on Thursday night, November 7th, seeing Heretic, which is brought to you by the team Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who people will know from Quiet Place 2, Quiet Place 3, Quiet Place 4, Quiet Place 5, and my personal favorite of their movies. Well, I do really like Quiet Place, but Haunt, and I know you all also really like Haunt.
I love Haunt. I did not realize that they made any. I mean, I didn't know who.
Yeah.
That came out.
I will say the first time I saw a trailer for Heretic, I was like, eh. And I saw who did it. I'm like, oh, I'll definitely give it a chance. So we're going to go spoiler free. We will probably talk spoilers, but we will give you ample warning with the sound of a chainsaw. So if you haven't seen it, shut this off when you hear the chainsaw. Missy, what did you think of Heretic?
I thought it was awesome. That movie stressed me the fuck out. And
very stressful movie.
I went with our friend Chris, and it stressed him the fuck out too. We both about jumped out of our seats. It took me on a ride. It gave me the one thing that I really, really wanted, just to check out from the real world for a while, and it took me on a 2-hour ride, and I had a real good time with it. And the entire time I was extremely engaged. And like, what the fuck is happening? I never figured it out until the reveal at the end. Like, I was surprised.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to figure this movie out, because it's not like you're really going into the mind of the Hugh Grant character, and so you know what I mean. Like, there's not like some like, oh, he's dead, or oh, it's this, or oh, you know, it's very specific.
What did you think?
I thought it was really good. I was a little nonplussed by it, and I'm not entirely sure why. Like, I enjoyed it for sure.
Okay.
But I was kind of surprised I wasn't more blown away by it. It was like watching it through like a layer of removal somehow, where I was like, I feel like this is like really epic and good, and I don't feel like I'm reacting to it that way.
Okay.
Kirsten loved it. I there is one thing I think, and I'll save that for the spoiler section, which I was a little bit like, okay, but it is very good. So Hugh Grant is fucking awesome. Sophie
Yeah.
Thatcher is awesome. Chloe East is awesome. I was surprised to find that Topher Grace was like the elder, like so he's barely in it. So I mean, I can't say he was
Wait,
awesome. That was Topher
I didn't know
Grace.
that was Topher Grace. I didn't recognize him.
I mean, it just wasn't a performance where you could be awesome because it was so limited and like, oh, he
Right.
didn't really do a lot. But it was cool to see. I didn't recognize him either, but I was like, I know I recognize this person, but it wasn't until I saw his name in the credits where I was like, oh, no shit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But really, it's really a movie with three people, and they're all
Mm-hmm.
fucking fantastic. The set is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is.
Um, the dialogue and all I mean, it's, you get a little bit of it from the trailer, like Hugh Grant's character is obviously manipulating these two girls that come there to
Right.
tell him about Jesus Christ and the Latter-day Saints or whatever. And I was not prepared for the extent of how charming and like intelligent that he was.
But yet creepy and super fucked up.
Yeah.
He was turning on the charm, but I mean, he wasn't charming enough to. I wouldn't have gone in that fucking house. I don't care that it's storming.
It wasn't like the charm where it was like the get in your pants charm. It was the charm of like, oh, he's a really intelligent person.
Right. But okay. He raises a lot of interesting points throughout the movie that, I mean, a lot of them are things that I agree with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, it's a very interesting movie that it keeps you on your toes. And
Definitely.
it uses tension. It uses tension better than, like, I don't remember a movie that had me this knotted up. It's a very stressful movie. It uses tension well. It makes you feel extremely claustrophobic and trapped.
Yeah, it does.
Um, and I don't like feeling trapped. So it really had me on edge, and I was deep in, and that's awesome. Like that's what I want to happen.
Yeah. It was definitely a ride. I thought
Yeah.
of you at some point during the course of the movie where I was like, Missy will like this because this is a motherfucking ride.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where the fuck are we now on this ride? And when, not like I was waiting for it to end, but like, where does it end? I mean,
Right.
which goes into that, like, there's no way to spoil it. Or, I mean,
Right.
not that there's no way to spoil it, but there's no way to like the twist isn't like a twist that you
Right.
would never understand. You're never going to know where any of this is going. It's so fresh and just
Mm-hmm.
like specific.
And unique. It's a very different story.
Yeah.
Like I it's not like anything I've seen. Like a lot of times we watch stuff and it's like, oh, this is kind of like this. I would do this as a double feature these two movies. Like I can't think of anything that feels like this. Like it
No.
feels unique and original, and the characters are like the Hugh Grant character is very unique and original, and
Yes.
it's a it's a fantastic fucking movie that I'm gonna be thinking about for the next 3 days.
Yeah. I would definitely draw some parallels to Barbarian just with like the underground element. So it made me think of that a little bit. The Hollies, the air that I breathe, I always
Mhm.
thought that was, I can't believe it's a fucking Hollies. I always thought it was air supply.
When he started calling out other things that were like parallel, and it's like you think about it, and oh yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think of it that way, but they totally mirror each other.
Yeah. It it
I thought that
it,
was neat.
it was really, really interesting, like intelligent, thought-provoking conversation where and as they're having it, it's like it's so funny because it becomes so one-sided as they're realizing like, oh, we're totally fucked. This guy's a
We're
fucking
totally
nut
fucked.
job. Right.
Right.
So, and then therein lies the tension because it's like he would be talking and I'll be like, oh, I'm following what you're saying, sir. And then I cut back to them. I'm like, oh, yeah, those girls are terrified because he's probably going to kill them. Like,
Hmm.
it was a really interesting dynamic.
Well, and it's crazy how intense the movie is when like there are these scenes that are extremely stressful and intense, and it's just three people having a conversation.
Yep. Because it's everything under the conversation.
You know, that whole opening sequence when he brings them into the house and they're sitting there. I mean, and this isn't a spoiler, they show it in the trailer, you know, that he's burning a candle that smells like pie. And so I mean, you know, in the trailer that he lies to get them in the house about his wife and she's making pie
Yeah.
and all this stuff. But it's just three people sitting there having a conversation, and every single noise made me jump.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, so because it becomes that thing where it's like he is daring them to call, like without actually saying it, he's daring them, he's lying to them, and he's dangling it in their face and daring them to call him on the fact that he's lying to them.
Right. Challenge
And
it.
so that right there is just tense because you're like, you
Mm-hmm.
can immediately put yourself in that position. And then the way that that escalates and grows, and he uses it very specifically to
Right.
manipulate them in ways like there's a moment with something in a pocket where it's like
Mm-hmm.
you see it and you're like, oh, then you see it later and you're like, that's why it's in that pocket. Holy
Mm-hmm.
shit. Talk about
Holy shit.
playing the long game. And then he
Right.
even comes in and says basically exactly that, right?
Sophie Thatcher was fantastic. I mean, they all gave a
Yes.
great performance, but I thought she was outstanding every time she was on screen.
Yeah, and also Chloe East, I thought really had a nuance, and I think this was on purpose. Like I think Sophie Thatcher, it was a little bit more of like a bold, upfront performance because it was written that
Mm-hmm.
way, and Chloe East was kind of like the underdog where
Yeah, like the mousy, more timid one, the one that you wouldn't expect to do anything.
and but that ends up like really having like at some point she starts talking and I'm like, oh, holy shit, she is way smarter than I thought she was.
Mm-hmm. Right, because she comes off as this little church mouse that won't say, you know, boo to
Yeah.
anybody.
Well, how does Kirsten pointed out, how does she pronounce pornography at the beginning? She says like pornography or something. Like,
I I don't know, but I died laughing when she said that they stopped their sexing.
yes, she said they stopped their sexing. And
They
then,
stopped
and
their sexing.
oh my God. And where she's like relating this story about watching a porno and like the people are interrupted by the neighbor, like, I can hear you in there. And like, that's her like the moment where she knew God was real because I was like, what the
Right.
fuck? What? And in fact, actually that whole now I'm thinking about it, that is actually way more nuanced
Than I
of
gave her credit for, because
well, and the script because I think she's only in retrospect I think she's only adding on the that's what I knew because she realized because then she's telling a story and Sophie Thatcher's like, do you watch a lot of pornography? And she's like, oh no. Then that's when I realized Jesus, so I feel like yeah, she wasn't nearly as innocent as she pretended to be,
hmm
not in a malicious
and
way at all.
she was much more intelligent than you give her credit for, because she comes off as this overly churchy, naive idiot at
Yeah,
first.
yeah,
And later on, she, you know, gets some guts
yeah,
and starts to use her brain.
yeah,
Like this actually, and again, very, very different movies, but it reminds me, like the dread and tension thing. Though I think this is a much better movie. It reminded me of the original Speak No Evil, not the American version, the
Yes,
one that's
yes.
like Dutch or Swedish. Um, because it's the whole time I'm screaming in my head, fucking do something. I didn't know what was going on, but you're letting this person manipulate you, and it's not going to be anything good. Do something. You're already in this bad situation. Like, fuck it. If I'm going to die, I'm gonna die fucking fighting,
Yeah, right, right.
not sitting there, you know, realizing that this candle is bullshit and the pie is a lie. Waiting for this guy to reveal his plan and try to kill you. Like, you don't know what's going on, but you know it's not going to be something good. Do
Right.
something.
Do something.
And when they finally do try to do something, they stand there and argue in front of the door. Well, should we? Should we get our coat? Should we fucking try to leave?
Yeah. Oh, and of course that doesn't work, but
Right, but still, I mean, even
still,
if
it took long enough to get to that point.
right. And again, in a situation like that, there's a good chance you're going to die regardless. So do something, die fighting.
It really plays on that thing, and I think everybody's been in this position, not in this extreme, but where you're somewhere and you realize somebody's either fucking with you or or they're being manipulative or whatever, and it's like you know it, but you kind of don't want to believe it, and you don't want to believe it because you don't want to have to acknowledge it and then discuss it with that person, right? Because now this just becomes this big icky mess of like, oh, okay. And I thought that's really where the script shined, was the way that they track the progression of them like trying to be polite, even like to the point where like when there's the point when they finally go through the they make a
The
choice. This is
door.
also in the trailer. They
Right.
go through a door, shut the door behind them, and like Chloe's character is like, okay, thank you for your mentoring and for letting us leave. It's like he's a fucking psycho. Don't
Right.
thank him
And he's not
anymore.
letting you
But they
leave.
just it's the social contract until like upheld until to the most ridiculous degree where it's
See,
like, no,
I don't think I have that, but
I don't think you have
extremely,
that either. I have
I'm
that to a
extremely
degree.
socially, I'm extremely socially awkward. And I'm really like, I, I'm skittish and I'm a good judge of character. And I don't let people get too close. Like, there's no way.
You wouldn't have gone in the house, but had the two of us gone in the house and I had been acting like Chloe East, you would have very
Right.
early on been like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" You would have said it directly to Hugh Grant. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
probably.
Like they were
Because yes,
way
I would
too
go in with
worried.
you because I mean, I wouldn't leave my friend alone, but
Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm going to go in that guy's house, you could be like, "I'll see you later." Because that's on me. That's on me. But no, but that's really where I think the script shined in really chronicling that, like, because that's just a really cringe. Nobody wants to be in a situation like that where it's like, are you fucking really doing this to me? And now I have to look at you and acknowledge the fact that like you're manipulating me, and I know you're manipulating me, and I don't want to play this game where I'm like, oh, I understand, where you're trying to like dance around the idea. Like, no, everybody here knows this.
well, and it was bothering me because I recognize that I don't have it, but I recognize that most people do. That whole I'm going to try to be polite and no, use your brain, fight back.
Yeah. And man, the Speak No Evil comparison is good. And I'll even say I didn't see the American one. I mean, I feel like I did because I saw the trailer 9,000 fucking times, and the trailer shows the
Same.
whole fucking movie. But I will say, even in the trailer for the American one, there's a moment where so you've got James McAvoy, right? And uh I think I forget the woman that plays like his wife or whatever, the couple. But then
Yeah,
the
but
other
she's the
couple,
one from the Nightingale.
yes, the other couple is Scoot McNairy and Mackenzie Davis, who I know they're in a bunch of stuff, but I know them from *Halt and Catch Fire* because they're both in that. Um, but there's a scene in the trailer where James McAvoy is hugging Mackenzie Davis, and then he like starts to kiss her neck, and she's like looking at her husband, Scoot McNairy, over his shoulder. He's looking at her like, "What the fuck?" And
Right.
that's a good example of this exact thing where it's like in that situation, what should happen is both people should be like, "Are you fucking
What the
kidding
fuck?
me?"
Right.
But they're just it's this social contract thing that we're it's no good. It's no good. It's just not good.
Yeah, I don't understand that because if that I would, shove the person and be, "Oh, what the fuck?" But
it
then again,
gets.
I wouldn't go stay with strangers that I met on vacation. So,
Oh, we hung out with them for 2 hours. Let's go. Let's go stay with them for the weekend. It sounds like a great idea.
all right. I don't talk to people. I usually let one of you guys talk.
But anyway, so we digress again. But I think we're dancing on spoilers. So okay, we're gonna go into spoilers. Chainsaw Now. If you haven't seen it, stop listening. Okay, so the one thing that kind of let the air out of it a little bit for me, I just wish that he hadn't just been like a guy that wanted to like kill. And I mean, so obviously like she was going to end Chloe East was going to end up in a cage by getting there,
Hmm.
right? But like
Right.
there was moments where I was like, when you go in that room, you'll discover the oldest religion. There were moments where I was like, oh, there's something bigger here. Like I was like, oh,
Yeah.
is this going to be like an
I was
underwater thing?
I
Like
was
where,
also a little disappointed in that because they well, they showed us these like occult sigils and we will both lock in on that.
yeah,
And I was thinking that, oh, as we go deeper and deeper and there's all this water and stuff, I thought we were going to get some kind of elder god, and that's not the direction we went in.
yeah, and it's just
Is that
it's a
what you were
little.
thinking too?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of whether it was an elder god or just something that was like bigger than just like, oh, I'm going to either put you in a cage or fuck you or stab you. Like, but I mean, they did it. It still is really really good, and that's my own expectation bringing it, in.
But I think that might have been the point because the whole thing is based on, do you believe or do you not? And even the whole thing at the ending, same thing. Do you believe or do you not? Do you see it or
Yes.
do you not? So, I mean, I think that's the point. They showed us this stuff to see what we believe, but,
Yeah.
you know, but I love the fucking house.
Oh God damn. I mean, as we kept going deeper, I was like, well, like when she goes down and there's like one room and the next room, I was like, is Dr. Satan gonna be in the next room? Like, where are we?
Yeah, but on the wall, did you see the Dante's Inferno thing?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The
Because that,
levels.
because it goes
Yeah.
down
But
and
this is also a fucking house in like the suburbs. You know what I
right.
mean? So like I love that they did that.
And I mean, my question is like, he built this whole thing. All right. So how many people has he done this to? Like, we saw one or two people in cages.
But how long has he been?
How long? Because this house is built for this. You don't, I mean, because as soon as they walk in, he says about the metal and the walls and the ceiling, and we're watching it going, yeah, that means you've got no signal.
Yeah.
Red flag, red flag. Don't go in this goddamn house.
I feel like this movie is actually, and I thought of this comparison earlier tonight and forgot about it, but it's Saint Maud and Saw, like in a blender
Okay,
in a way.
I have not seen Saint Maud.
It's Ray brought it up again last night,
Okay.
and I was like, "Oh, I've only seen it the one time," and
Is it good?
it is. It's one of those movies that really suffered from COVID hitting, like because it's like it was,
Okay.
everyone's like, "Oh, it's coming out," and then COVID hit, and it's like, "Oh, it's not coming out," and then it was like you could
Like
tell.
Antlers.
Yeah,
Antlers
you
got
could tell the
delayed
studios were like,
forever.
"How long is it? We'll just push it a few months back, push it a few months back, push it," and then eventually it was like, "I'll just stick it on VOD and be done with it."
Right, and Antlers suffered too, and that's
Yeah,
I love that one.
yeah, that's a good
So
one
I
too.
didn't see Saint Maud. Um, I I don't mind religious horror, but I have to be in the right mood for it.
Saint Maud is it's like this in that it's there's religious horror where it's like The Exorcist, right? Where the
Hmm.
horror is coming from some extrapolation of religious dogma or teachings,
Hmm.
and then there's the religious horror where it's like it ties into religion in a little bit more of like a roundabout way. I mean,
Hmm.
I guess
Well,
not
this was,
roundabout.
I mean, this technically is religious horror, but it's different than any religious horror
Yes,
you've seen.
yes,
Like, and I mean, I think it's very well written. It's well shot.
yeah,
The sets are amazing. Like, I'm obsessed with that house and
yeah,
all those weird windows that are not. None of the windows in this fucking house are big enough for a person.
yeah. I know,
Like,
right? Yeah, man, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I would like to. I don't know if I'll go back and see it again in the theater, but it's definitely one I will look forward to watching after some time has passed, watching it again and kind of like letting it breathe a little bit.
how do you how did you take the ending? The thing with the where she sees the butterfly.
Oh, it's 100%. Well, okay, so I guess you could take it as like she's about to drop dead. I did not take it that way. I took it, and this is the beauty of the script is like what you were saying. It's written this way. It's what do you believe, right? The whole movie, like it has
Right.
that kind of as a viewer, what do you believe?
Because that's how I took it. But our friend Chris went with me and he took it as it's not there. It's not real.
So no, I took it as it was. I took it as it was real, and it was Sophie Thatcher.
See, I think they were showing us both. To me, it was like the ending of Inception. You know,
Well, it
does
is. It
it?
is.
That's
That's
how
how
I
they
took it.
present it.
That there's not actually an answer. The you are the answer.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, my interpretation, what I feel comfortable, what I want out of it is that it is actually Sophie Thatcher, but also like she looks at it, and as soon as you look at it and you realize, oh, you remember what she said earlier,
Mm-hmm.
it's gone, right? So that was when I was like, oh, is she about the is this a end of life hallucination? Um, and there is no answer.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm assigning that to this because they just went through that and that's what I want them to have,
Right.
right?
That's right. I think the whole point is that they're asking you, what do you
Yeah.
believe?
What do you believe?
Um, and I saw it the same way that it was her dead friend.
Yeah. I that
But
is comforting to me.
that doesn't surprise me that we would see it that way
No, not at all. Not at
because of
all.
the things we believe in.
Uh, the other thing that like not it was a little bit of a disappointment where like but it was clever so I was like okay so it's still cool but there's it was almost not I don't really want to say a martyr's moment but that's what came to mind where it's like you'll see a miracle and then like this woman dies in front of them and then comes back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh shit, so this is like changing what this movie is right now, like big time. But so this like this idea in this movie where it was like, oh my God, they're in now in this room with this like resurrected dead I was like, holy shit. So this is really not what I thought. And then it
Hmm.
wasn't that. So I was a little bit,
Well, they kept giving us things where it's like, is it supernatural? Is there,
yeah,
is this all smoke and mirrors, or does he really have something?
right.
Is he really doing old magic, or did he find some creature, or what is this? Or is it all trickery? Is it bullshit? I mean, and that's basically what he's asking them when he presents them with the two doors.
Yep. And it's just so funny when they go through the belief door, there's no exit. I'm like, of course, because belief is a prison, which is
Hmm.
like a mantra I've had for, you know, decades.
Right, but you and I both have a very skeptical view of organized religion.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I had the exact same thought. Was
But then the other door went that way too. So like the dice were loaded.
hmm And that's what I figured it was going to. It doesn't matter what door you choose. He wants to see what door you choose, but neither door is going to take you out.
No, you're
The
not
only
getting
thing
out of
is,
here.
I wasn't sure if they were different paths because we weren't sure how big that house was. So,
Right.
but in the movie, it shows us that they go to the same place. They go to the
Yeah.
same prison. But when you see that wooden model, it looks so elaborate of the house.
Yes. Yeah.
So I didn't know if there was like a different trap or whatever, because it does have some Saw undertones. I mean, it's not gory the way Saw is or anything.
There's things about Saw that I like very big, like very begrudgingly. The first one I generally like, except for Danny Glover and Carrie Ellis, who suck. They just suck. Otherwise, I think it's a fun little movie, and I the ending is just fucking masterful. There's just that moment where it's like, oh
I just
fucking hell, man.
I can't get past Carrie Elwes. I just
No,
can't.
he's fucking he's so bad.
And
He's
I'm
so bad.
supposed to believe him as a fucking brain surgeon,
Right,
and I
right,
can't do it.
right. No, he's so
If I'm
bad.
gonna
But
watch a Saw movie, I'd rather watch part two.
but that being said, like the Saw is a very guttural, like kind of low common denominator kind of. It's intelligent, but it's a conundrum in a way. And this is just it resembles it only because of the elaborate lengths that this person goes to prove his
Mm-hmm.
point, right? And the way that he
Right.
has engineered his environment that he inflicts on these people so that, there's just all these little,
His house is a trap.
yeah, that little lock mechanism inside the
Mm-hmm.
faceplate of the light. I loved seeing
Yeah,
that
that was great.
repeatedly.
And those crazy steps going up. I love that shot where they're dragging the bikes up. And
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know why the steps are built that way, but it's a gorgeous shot.
yeah. Yeah, Heretic is definitely I would definitely recommend it. I think it's a good night out at the movies. Even if I did not have my doors completely blown off by it, like I kind of felt like I should have, but I just didn't feel like it did that. But it's very
Okay.
good, and I would definitely recommend everybody go see it because I think it's a good time. I think people really enjoy it, and because it is so tense, like you say,
Yeah.
that's fun.
And it is. And I mean, and it is creepy. And for people who aren't like, it has a little bit of gore, but it's not a
No,
splatter fest.
no,
This
not at
is
all.
a thoughtful horror movie.
Yes.
This is creepy because of what they're having to go through. It's not a gore fest.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a bit more accessible. Um, I had a real good time with it. Um, with all the bullshit going on in the world right now, it was like I was able to completely immerse, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I know I say this all the time, but this is a unique movie. See, we want to support these movies in theaters. We want theaters to continue to exist.
Yep.
We want these movies to exist. I don't care about the big budget Marvel movie. I want to see the weird movie with my friend that we're going to stand out in the parking lot and talk about afterwards. And, the movie that you and I are going to talk about and, analyze for the next few days. Those are the movies I care about. I want them to exist. They're the reason I love film to begin with.
Yeah.
And the movie theater is like, the movie theater has been like my church since I was a child. I can go there and not for a while. I get to write a story and the real world doesn't matter. All the bad shit doesn't matter. It all goes away for 2 hours.
Yeah. Well
It's
said.
like it's been my favorite place in the world since I was a kid, and I don't want them to disappear. And these are the kind of movies that I want to exist. So it's a good time. It's different. It'll make you think. See it in a theater.
Yeah, I agree. That's Heretic. And this is the Horror Vision. And I'm Sean.
And I'm Missy.